to restore film that's been damaged, and I've got a whole sink full of, this is actually clean, but film that's just bent like this, and you're having to get it in your scanner if that's what you're doing, or some other device. Some of these powered scanners were film scanners. Getting these folds out is a monumental problem. What I found works best, and I've done everything you can imagine. I've done high heat and pressure under glass plates, tons of pressure for weeks. It won't come out. Heat gun, different size nozzles, different finesse using the nozzle, won't work. The heat's just not high enough to get rid of the distortion, at the same time not damage the film around it if you try to increase the heat. The one thing that I have discovered, and it's a property of cellulose acetate or the later polyester film bases, is that they were hydroscopically created. It's a water-based process, high pressure, high heat. Okay, well that creates memory in the like it would a person. That kind of abuse creates memory in the film itself. Now this later abuse, okay, is subtle compared to that original pressure. Okay, if given the chance, you know, this memory will fade and the original memory will take over. It's literally like a psychology almost, if I can use that analogy. So what you have to do is, you know, invert the film. And so we got the little heart here. Oh, isn't that cute? Oh, we want to get back to some loving memories and not this abusive. Oh. So you can take it and you roll it a little bit. And you could actually do this anyway. But when you do this, in general, it never does quite come out. You always get this little kink in it. So you always get kind of a heart-shaped little kink in it. Now, what you do is you take a lighter. Yeah, I said a lighter. And I keep in mind, I've tried everything under the planet. I've soaked it for weeks under hot water. I've done pressure, high pressure under glass plates. Got it wet, pressed it individually under cloth. Nothing gets that little crinkle out of there. But this, in vengeance of my past efforts, does seem to get it out. And that's just about as good as you're going to get. Okay. It will lay flat. You can get it in your film scanner. You can get it in your flatbed scanner frame. You know, other ways that I actually have a custom fixture, which I used to do my scanning. That's about as good as you're going to get. You can hit it one more time if you want, if you're nimble. Problem is, if you just like, well, I always press mine, or I always take a pen. You know, and this is always a classic method, because here's another one. Here's another bend like this. Okay, I always take a nice rounded, you know, copacetic version of the fold, invert it, and yeah, you can do that, and it does yield some pretty good results. Problem is that you risk breaking the film. You know, if you do that, you kind of roll it a little bit. That's actually not a bad pre-process for what I've just described, but it really doesn't get rid of that very well. You still get a pretty good kink in it. However, if you take that and invert it, kind of bit of discovery on what I was describing as someone else's misaligned efforts to do this. And you can kind of see it when I run it through there, as obvious would be. Okay, here we go. Not bad. So, what I was making fun of earlier is actually a better way to do it. So go ahead and take this rounded object and pre-roll it into that. Okay, so that's often how my discovery process, and every discovery process, works. I've got 25 US patents, and that's because of, you know, things like this and things like this. So anyway, that's my method for straightening this film out. Like I said, I've tried pretty much everything under the planet, and I've got all the resources here to do it. It just won't come out. This is the only way to be able to put a high stress on that point, okay, of that incidental memory, short-term memory. It's been bent in the short term, must have been 10 years, but compared to that original force that it was used to form with, that primal force, which is almost a psychology of what we will all go back to, you know what I mean, and return to when given the chance, which is the heat, the opportunity. So anyway, I thought I'd pass that along. It's a good way to straighten out film. Like I said, I've restored thousands and thousands of these things. So that's just one of those tricks that you learn about 2/3 of the way through that you wish you knew at the beginning. So I thought I'd pass it along.